In Venezuela, the Attorney General Tarek William Saab on Tuesday offered details of the progress made in the investigations regarding the PDVSA crypto case. The death toll in Brazil due to rains and floods in the state of Rio Grande do Sul rises to 95. And in Palestine, at least 18 people died in the city of Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip as a result of the bombings by the Israeli occupation army. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, the Attorney General Tarek William Saab on Tuesday offered details of the progress made in the investigations regarding the PDVSA crypto case. During a press conference, William Saab pointed out that the public ministry is constantly advancing in the fight against corruption. Meanwhile, the official denounced that the former Minister of Oil, Tarek El-Aissami, had a phantom payroll with which he allegedly financed an extortive media structure with public money. In this sense, the public prosecutor informed that around 290 people have been prosecuted. 76 of them were sentenced for the corruption scheme.
Later appeared one after another in different companies in the oil belt, as well as in different management of PDVSA. After almost 7 years of this investigation, we have managed to process 32 corruption plots linked to the oil industry, including PDVSA crypto plot. In all these 32 plots, so we have judicialized 290 people. That number should not be forgotten, only referring to the fight against oil corruption. 76 have already been convicted. Among those prosecuted, including apart from the former Orinoco oil belt, Chief Pedro León, and 4 former presidents of PDVSA. This public service, our officers under our leadership have consolidated in an unquestionable way a work a reality, a vocation of service that is unique in the Western Hemisphere and within this important line of actions. The fight against common crime in all its forms, organized crime in all its forms, from structured organized crime groups to the major drug mafias.
We stay in Venezuela, where research consultant Idea Datos released a national survey month ahead of the presidential elections that will take place in the country. Let's see the details.
National survey ahead of Venezuela's presidential elections. The survey, carried out between April 29th and May 3rd, interviewed 1,600 Venezuelans, both men and women, all of them 18 years old or older. When asked about their candidate of choice for the coming polls, over 52% of those surveyed choose current President Nicolás Maduro. This is close to 3 times the number obtained by the closest opposition candidate, Edmundo González, and almost 10 times the amount of people willing to vote for Daniel Ceballos. Regarding the voters' preference in terms of political parties, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela and Great Patriotic poll stand out with 46% over the 30% of those surveyed that preferred the unitary platform. Meanwhile, 27% of those who participated did not opt for any political space. Finally, when asked about their willingness to participate in the upcoming presidential polls, 64% of those surveyed expressed they will definitely participate with their votes, and 16% stated that they will maybe do so. Only 5% of the participants stated that they will not vote in the elections.
The member states of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of the Americas People's Trade Agreement, ALBA-TCP, made a statement Tuesday rejecting the Argentine government's decision to eliminate the teleSUR signal from the television grid. In the statement, the alliance noted the double standards of the Argentine government, which rhetorically boasts about the importance of freedom, while on the other hand curtails the freedom of speech of millions of its citizens. The regional bloc stressed that Buenos Aires' decision intends to silence the voice of the peoples of the world, undermining their right to inform and be informed. teleSUR was created as an alternative media to let the world know about the realities of the peoples of the South and their integration processes, and over the years it has become one of the most respected and consulted sources of information for the American continent and the whole world. In its statements, the ALBA-TCP expressed its hope that sooner rather than later the outlet's signal will be back on the air. Earlier, during an exclusive interview for a multi-platform teleSUR, Argentine journalist and writer Stella Caloni affirmed that the government's decision to censor teleSUR's signal on open digital television is part of the political persecution that the country is going through.
This is a clearly political decision as a result of the political persecution that we are living in these moments. It was kind of foreseeable that teleSUR was bothering them infinitely, because this is a country where they are not allowing the channels to publish anything of international politics. Here, nothing is known, and the only thing that many of us could see was our own production. Of course, we journalists have other sources, but teleSUR was very important to us and to all of Latin America. We know this. Besides, Argentina is a partner of teleSUR from the beginning.
Stella Caloni also stated that the government is attacking the media, starting with the Telam news agency, whose headquarters have been closed indefinitely.
Communication has been persecuted from the beginning. Also, in Macri's government, the first thing they did was to end the whole new project of the audiovisual media law, so important for the country, because it was a democratizing law by essence. So the first thing he does is to attack the public media, to promise that the public media was going to disappear. Media like public television, radio, and the news agency Telam, which also, similar to this issue with teleSUR, they have decided to close all internal correspondence.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul Governor Eduardo Leite announced tonight that the death toll from the catastrophic floods that have hit the region has reached 95, with 130 people still missing. Here's our reporter Brian Meyer with more.
It's now the fourth day since the city of Porto Alegre in southern Brazil began to flood. Even though the water levels of the Guaibá River have receded slightly, down to 5.2 meters above normal compared to 5.4 a few days ago, the water continues to enter more and more neighborhoods in the city due to a series of dikes breaking. Residents of Porto Alegre were shocked to see that the gates on a series of dikes protecting the city from the Guaibá River were so old that they wouldn't even move on their tracks. City workers rushed to lift them and push them shut, and in some cases solder them. But in more and more places across the city, this is turning out not to have been good enough. Governor Eduardo Leite just gave a press conference, and he said the official number of people living in shelters has risen to 48,700. There's another 150,000 people living in houses of friends and relatives, and a total of 1.4 million people have been affected by the floods. President Lula has announced that the city will get all the help it needs. He's already allocated 1.5 billion reais to the relief effort. But experts are saying the floodwaters are expected to stay where they are for at least another 10 days. And the fact that rain is forecast in the next few days in the mountains above Porto Alegre isn't going to help the situation at all.
In Palestine, at least 18 people died in the city of Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip as a result of the bombings by the Israeli occupation army. According to Palestinian media, the first day of what the Israeli regime calls Operation Rafah was marked by heavy helicopter fire in addition to artillery shelling of the area near the border crossing. They also indicated that the occupation army shelled 6 homes in Rafah, leaving more than a dozen victims, including women and children. Meanwhile, Palestinian authorities warned that after the intense Israeli attacks, entry of humanitarian aid to Rafah has been blocked, as well as the evacuation of the sick. Israeli occupation forces entered the eastern area of the Gaza city of Rafah on Tuesday, where more than 1 million displaced Palestinians are staying. The Tel Aviv forces justified this new aggression, claiming it was an operation to eliminate the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas. Israeli tanks reportedly arrived at the Rafah crossing terminal on the border with Egypt and urged the Palestinians to evacuate to the humanitarian area in Al-Mawasi on the coast. On the other hand, local media confirmed that Israel is carrying out attacks against civilians' areas and agricultural lands. The United Nations announced the evacuation of the city of Rafah as a war crime as it goes against the basic principles of international law and human rights. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, warned that the imminent Israeli military offensive in the city of Rafah will generate death, suffering and destruction. The United Nations official called on the international community to prevent the displacement of the Palestinians, the immediate end of the Israeli aggression against Gaza, and the delivery of humanitarian aid to this territory. United Nations authorities confirmed that the international body will not participate in any forced evacuation of Palestinians. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian urged the Israeli occupation authorities on Tuesday to stop the invasion of the Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. Lin Jian called on Israel to comply with the demands of the international community and to do everything in its power to prevent the worsening of the humanitarian catastrophe in the territory. On the other hand, European Union authorities affirmed that there is no safe place in the Gaza Strip and added that Israel continues its siege against the Palestinian people despite the call made to not invade in Rafah. In Spain, university students held demonstrations to demand a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and condemned Israeli genocidal acts against the Palestinian people. On Tuesday, different universities in Barcelona, Madrid and Aragon united in solidarity with the Palestinian resistance after the continuous Israeli attacks against the territory. The government of Spain, together with its president Pedro Sánchez, urged the need to recognize the state of Palestine as a transcendental movement for the pacification of the Middle East. On the other hand, the students asked the institutions to cease agreements with any company or organization that finances Israel. The students of the most prestigious universities in the United Kingdom set up tents and carry out mobilizations in support of the Palestinian population and against the Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip. The mobilized people demand the elimination of all items benefiting Israel in a list of 6 demands, such as disinvestment, budget transparency, changes in the investment policy and boycott of international relations. The Israeli siege against Gaza has internally displaced 85% of the population of Gaza and has plunged it into a shortage of food, drinking water and medicine. Russian troops destroyed a workshop for the production of solid rocket fuel and military technical equipment of the Ukrainian armed forces. The Russian Defense Ministry detailed that the military facility had several warehouses and depots for military equipment. Part of the balance sheet indicates that the Kyiv forces lost at least 335 soldiers, a Leopard 1 tank, an armored personnel carrier, 2 armored combat vehicles and 3 cars in the course of the operation in the Kharkov and Lugansk region. In this context, the President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, arrived in Russia to participate in the Supreme Council of the Eurasian Economic Union. In this meeting, Cuba will be participating as an observer nation. The Cuban head of state is set to develop a work agenda which includes a reunion with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Díaz-Canel traveled to the Russian Federation accompanied by Foreign Affairs Minister Bruno Rodríguez Parrilla and Emilio Lozada, head of the International Relations Department of the Cuba's Communist Party. The Cuban president is also scheduled to attend the military parade of May 9th on the occasion of Victory Day this year, celebrating the 79th anniversary of the triumph of the Soviet Union over Nazi Germany in the Great Patriotic War. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In South Africa, a multidisciplinary rescue team, including sniper dogs, continued Tuesday night to search for more than 30 people who remain trapped under the rubble of a building under construction in the city of George. 75 people were there when the multi-story apartment complex under construction collapsed Monday afternoon. At least 7 of them have been pronounced dead and others were taken to the hospital in serious conditions. More than 30 hours after the accident occurred, the death toll is likely to rise.
Come and make prayers for those who have been involved in the incident, also to give the spiritual support to the families and members and the loved ones of the people that have lost their families that were working in this building.
I'm here to support the families who have lost their lives on the site. Yeah, that's why I'm here, just to support the moral support for the family, because it's just a tragedy that has happened. Yes.
In Vietnam, locals gathered to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the battle that expelled French colonizers. The military ceremony was presided by the Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh and also attended by the French Minister of Defense, Sébastien Lecornu, on an official visit to the country. Amidst the rainy weather, around 12,000 people participated of the massive parade that took place in the rural town of Dien Bien Phu. The celebration commemorates the victory of the Vietnamese on the 56th-day battle against France. The defeat made the European country desist from maintaining its colonial presence in the territory. On Tuesday, humanity celebrated World Asthma Day, a chronic disease that affects a high percentage of the world's population, with children being the most vulnerable. The event, organized by the Global Asthma Initiative, takes place on the first Tuesday of May to involve patients in the care and control of the disease, reduce possible risk factors, and teach people what to do when faced with a possible asthma attack or crisis. Asthma causes the airway of the lungs to swell and narrow, causing breathing difficulties such as wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, and coughing. This day aims to raise awareness of asthma and its consequences, promote the study of its association with the environment, reduce morbidity and mortality from this condition, and improve the availability and accessibility of therapies for this pathology. Now we go to the world of sports. On Monday, Barbados initiated an agreement with Jamaica to receive assistance in the preparation of athletes and athletic trainers in order to raise the level of education in the country. In this regard, the Barbados Minister of Sports, Charles Griffith, stated that the project emerged as a result of conversations with his Jamaican counterpart, Olivia Grange, since Kingston, capital of Jamaica, had a similar collaboration with Trinidad and Tobago. He also stated that the idea of the agreement is to promote the exchange of experience in order to better train coaches and thus raise the quality standards in the preparation of athletes. And we continue in the Caribbean, where it was announced on Tuesday that the Vice President of the Cuban Athletics Federation received the Golden Order of Merit awarded by World Athletics to the athlete Alberto Juantorena, two-time Olympic champion in Montreal in 1976, in addition of his achievements on the track and his leadership in the development of athletics in the world. Juantorena served as one of the Vice President of the Cuban Sports Institute for 28 years, and at the international level, he was a member of the World Athletics Council from 1987 until 2023, serving with recognized success as Vice President of the entity from 2015 to 2019. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.